My name's Chris Stallings. I'm one of the wealth advisors here at Abundance. And after helping so many widows through the last 20, 30 years, about a quarter century now of being a wealth advisor, we wanted to send you this video so that you can be thinking through some hard decisions and to actually be better equipped for challenges that might come in your life. And so this specific topic is going to be about how to prepare, or what should you do if you lose a spouse. And I think this is important because largely men don't worry about that near as much as women do. I've found that women pay more attention when we're talking about this, and so wanted to bring you a few things that we have found that could be helpful. And so the first thing is pretty basic. You want to be sure that everything is planned legally. And what I mean by that is, do you have the estate planning done? Do you have the necessary legal empowerment for other people to make decisions? We have found that when children go to even college, when they turn 18, if they get admitted to a hospital, the parent calls to check in on their kid, and you're going to find that the hospital won't talk to you because now they're 18. So they have age of majority and they're an adult, and you need an actual release for them to be able to speak to you, or you need to be empowered legally for that. So that basic planning goes a really long way. The next thing I think is important is the number of times we've seen where a spouse comes in here, largely women, right? We have widowers too, where the husband handled things around the house. The husband handled the financial decisions. And oftentimes they even do the transactions and the operations of the finances, writing checks and keeping the checkbook and things like that. So I would tell you it's really important, and it may seem frustrating. Maybe you don't want to face the eventuality of life, but this is my invitation. If you would consider taking some of those hard steps now, if you will consider having some of those harder conversations, it's much easier and palatable to be taking those steps now proactively versus the number of times we've seen where the planning wasn't done, where the cross-training of where the finances are, how to access it, keeping a book or a file of all the key account statements and the professionals to call. Because if the husband has always done everything, I have seen the rude awakening where spouses, or in this case wives, they're having to deal with both the loss of their longtime best friend, which that in and of itself, that actually could be the work of that season, is grieving the spouse. Whatever you don't plan, whatever you have not accounted for, whatever you have not trained and understand, that's an additional burden that falls on you. So now you're going to have to figure out where the money is and how the insurance work and how things get paid. And I know you have the aptitude to do that, but we've seen such diminished capacity within those widows in that time that it starts to fly out the window. You kind of start seeing red and you get tunnel vision and you're just like paralyzed. And so this is so important to us that we've actually hired a widow on staff and been asking her, along with our existing widows, what would you want to prepare better than you did when all of the unfortunate things happened. And so these are the things that we draw on to be sure that our clients are better equipped, so that one of the hardest transitions in your life, the loss of a loved one like that, is met with planning, resilience, and then also a freedom to be fully present to deal with the loss of somebody very special. And so I just want to invite you to consider that if you've not made those plans, or if you've not had those hard conversations, that is something that we have the ability to drive towards, to make to really facilitate those conversations. Makes it a lot easier. And so most people don't want to talk about that, and so it can be ugly, it can be, some people call it cringy to have those discussions, but it is far better to have those hard conversations on the front end of something untimely happening. The last thing I wanted to say actually has to do with the gradual degradation of a spouse, like a decline due to mental capacity or physical capacity. That's one of the other challenges, because, for example, if a husband was to get into a form of dementia and have increased loss of faculties, the best thing that you can do when you find out about that is to take action immediately. So this is not prescriptive medically. I find some people get into denial and they don't deal with that. And then during times like COVID, that accelerates the rate of decline. And so what I have seen is these in this case, women who are left trying to figure out all the things that the husband did. And so again, if you can be like cross-training, communicating, to share these thoughts, it actually is empowering at the end of the day. It actually develops more intimacy relationally, we have found. And so if you can be preparing for something to happen, just like grabbing an umbrella because it might rain, hedging your bet a little bit goes a long way. And nobody likes getting caught in the rain, right? So, but then again, if you plan well enough, you might enjoy dancing in it. So I wanted to give you some ideas that we think about when it comes to preparing for the loss of a spouse, whether that's an abrupt loss or a gradual decrease. It's the information, the training, the management, even access to contacts we found sometimes is not communicated. And then those things do play out and you're kind of at a loss. So I want to invite you to reach out to us because we will do our resolute best to drive those conversations, to be sure that you're fully prepared so that you can be free to just deal with the emotions of these changes. And that's enough, in our opinion. That's sufficient for you to deal with in that season. But if you don't, then you have all these other things to pick up as well, and that's just not necessary.